Welcome to the Roy Morgan Weekly Update. During the past week, there's been much discussion and media attention surrounding the referendum on the voice to Parliament for Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islanders. And last week, Prime Minister Anthony Albanese made a quick trip to Alice Springs to confront the problems facing the outback town. The Albanese government announced $250 million of federal assistance for the initiatives regarding employment, health and other areas to be provided in conjunction with the Northern Territory government. The Reserve Bank's interest rate decision has been a major discussion point as well over the past week. Speculation about the RBA hiking interest rates has clearly had a negative impact on consumer confidence, as we'll see in a minute. We also have the latest results on Roy Morgan's most trusted and distrusted brands for the December 2022 quarter, with some stunning results. The discussion about the voice and the government's swift response to the problems in Alice Springs by providing $250 million in funding has clearly been a positive for the government. The ALP increased its support up 1.5 percentage points to 58.5 this week and is now 17% ahead of the coalition on 41.5% on a two-party preferred basis. Now, this increase in support is particularly important because the major economic indicators are going in the opposite direction. Government confidence has dropped this week, down 4.5 points to 100.5. Now 42.5% of Australians say the country is heading in the right direction, and almost as many, 42%, say the country is heading in the wrong direction. Consumer confidence has also taken a hit this week, down 3.2 points to 83.6. Now at its lowest so far this year, and well below that magical 100 where equal numbers of people are positive and negative. Consumer confidence dropped in all states and across key demographics, including homeowners, those with a mortgage, and also for people renting. The drop in consumer confidence is probably no surprise given speculation over the past week about how much the Reserve Bank would raise interest rates today, which they've now done. Following the Reserve Bank's interest rate increase today, the official cash rate is now at its highest for over a decade, since mid-2012. And we'll be closely monitoring consumer confidence next week to see how the increase to interest rates has impacted on different communities around Australia. Next is inflation expectations, which increased marginally this week, up 0.3 percentage points to 5.4%. And inflation expectations is what the Australian people expect inflation will be over the next couple of years annually. So far this year, inflation expectations have averaged 5.3% and are well below the peak of 6.8% reached in November last year, and also well below the latest ABS CPI figures for December 2022 that were 7.8%. So Roy Morgan's inflation expectations, which ask Australians what they expect prices to do over each of the next 2 years, have been a leading indicator over the last 2.5 years as inflationary pressures in the economy began to build since bottoming at a record low of 3.2% in August 2020. Roy Morgan's inflation expectations led up the quarterly ABS CPI figure for over 2 years until peaking in early November and have since declined. This path has been followed by the ABS CPI figure, which hit a 32-year high of 7.8% in December. And many economists, including the Reserve Bank, believe this will be the peak of inflation in Australia. We of course won't know the official figures for the March quarter for 2023 for another 3 months. But Roy Morgan's inflation expectations have dropped considerably since November and indicate Australians expect inflationary pressures to come down over the next few months. This is the value of measuring inflation expectations, which shows what the average Australian thinks about where prices will be going. A quick look at Australia's most trusted brands in the December quarter. shows large retailers continuing to dominate the list, led by Woolworths, the most trusted brand, followed by Coles and Bunnings, filling in the top 3 spots again. There's one brand noticeably absent from this group. In the last quarter of 2022, Australia's national carrier Qantas plunged 31 trust rankings, from being the 9th most trusted brand in Australia to becoming the 40th most trusted. In all our years of measuring trust and distrust, we've never before seen such a dramatic fall from grace without there being a singular crisis like the Optus customer data breach. A final word on this extraordinary turnaround for Qantas. Its historical safety record, built up over more than a century, has afforded it legendary status. But Australians have clearly had enough, and Qantas's historical reservoir of goodwill has breached its banks, emptying almost overnight. So why does this matter? It matters because it makes Qantas a fragile brand, a brand that's susceptible to a disruptor or competitor opportunistically stealing away its disillusioned, newly distrusting and disaffected customers. This is Virgin Australia's potential moment in the sun. Whether or not they're up to it, only time will tell. We'll all stay tuned. For more details on the ins and outs of the latest Roy Morgan most trusted and distrusted brands, follow the links below this video and register for the special webinar on the results, set to be released later this week. The webinar will provide greater detail on the ups and downs for many well-known brands, and it has a special focus on the issues facing some of Australia's best-known brands, including Qantas, as we mentioned, as well as Optus, Telstra and Medibank. And that's a wrap for this week. Subscribe for free to our Roy Morgan YouTube channel for all the latest political, economic and market research data and insights. Thanks for listening today, and I look forward to bringing you the latest data on consumer confidence, inflation expectations and voting intentions again next week. Take care. See you next Tuesday.